Imagine waking up one morning to find your entire life turned to ash. Not your metaphorical life, your actual home, your photos, your children's toys, your favorite armchair, everything you worked for, everything that felt safe and familiar. Just gone. In a cloud of smoke and embers. That is exactly where I found myself, and what came next was even worse. The people I thought were there to help me, my own insurance company, became my biggest enemy. This is not just a story about fire. It is a story about betrayal, about fighting back, and about winning against a system designed to make you give up. Stick with me, because if this ever happens to you, you need to know what I learned the hard way. My name is David, and until 2 years ago, I lived what most people would call a normal, quiet life in a small town just outside Manchester. I had a wife, 2 kids, a golden retriever named Max, and a cozy 3-bedroom house with a little garden where I spent every Sunday afternoon pretending to be good at gardening. The house was not fancy, but it was ours. We saved for years to buy it, painted every wall ourselves, and filled it with memories. That is what made what happened next so utterly devastating. It started on a Tuesday night, I remember, because I had just put the kids to bed and was watching some old football highlights with a cup of tea. The smell hit me first. That acrid, unmistakable scent of something burning. Then the smoke alarm shrieked like a banshee. I ran to the kitchen, thinking maybe the toast had burned again. But when I opened the door, thick black smoke billowed out. I screamed for my wife, Sarah, to grab the kids and get out. We ran out barefoot in our pajamas, clutching our phones and nothing else. The fire department arrived in under 7 minutes, but it was already too late. Flames were shooting out of the windows. By dawn, there was nothing left but a blackened skeleton of what used to be our home. The next few days were a blur of shock and exhaustion. We stayed with Sarah's parents, sleeping on sofas, feeling like ghosts in someone else's house. But amidst the grief, there was one small comfort: our home insurance. We had paid faithfully every single month for over a decade. Surely now, when we needed them most, they would come through. Right, wrong, so wronged. First adjuster who showed up was polite enough. He took photos, asked a few questions, jotted down some notes, and told us everything would be fine. He said the claim would be processed quickly, and we could start rebuilding soon. He even patted me on the shoulder and said they were here to help. That was the last time anyone from the insurance company would say anything nice to me. Within a week, the tone changed completely. Emails became cold and formal. Phone calls were met with long holds and vague answers. Suddenly, they were questioning everything. Was the wiring up to code? Had we stored any flammable materials in the garage? Did we have receipts for every single item lost in the fire? I felt like I was being interrogated, not assisted. They even implied maybe we had been careless. Maybe this was our fault. My own insurance company was treating me like a criminal while my children cried themselves to sleep in a room that was not theirs. I hit rock bottom when they sent me their first settlement offer. It was less than half of what our policy said we were covered for. They claimed the value of our home and belongings had depreciated. They said our 10-year-old sofa was only worth a few £100s now, even though it cost $2,000 when new. They argued our kids' toys were used goods and had minimal value. I sat at my in-laws' kitchen table staring at that piece of paper, feeling physically sick. How could they do this? How could they twist the contract we had trusted into something so cruel and unfair? That night, I made a decision. I was not going to let them win. I was not going to let them bully me into accepting pennies while my family suffered. I did not know how to fight them, but I knew I had to learn. I started by reading our insurance policy word for word. Every single page, every tiny clause buried in the fine print. I spent hours online researching insurance law in the UK. I joined forums. I watched videos. I found stories of other people who had been through the same nightmare. Some had given up. Most had lost, but a brave few had fought back and won. That gave me hope. The first real break came when I discovered something called the Financial Ombudsman Service in the UK. If you have a complaint against a financial company, including your insurer, and they refuse to resolve it fairly, you can take it to the Ombudsman. They are independent. They are free, and they have real power to force companies to do the right thing. I also learned that insurance companies hate bad publicity, and they hate being dragged through official complaints processes because it costs them time, money, and reputation. Armed with this knowledge, I stopped begging and started demanding. I wrote a formal letter of complaint outlining every single way they had failed. I quoted sections of our policy. I attached photos of the devastation. I included statements from the fire department confirming the cause was an electrical fault, not negligence. I sent copies to the ombudsman and told the insurance company I was escalating the matter. I warned them I would go public with our story if they did not start negotiating in good faith. The change was almost immediate. The cold emails stopped. The runaround calls ended. Suddenly, a new case manager was assigned to us, someone with actual authority, someone who actually listened for the summed. First time in months, I felt a flicker of hope. I was not naive. I knew this was just a tactic. They were trying to pacify me. I had to stay strong. I had to keep pushing. I started documenting everything, every phone call, every email, every promise. Every broken promise. I created a timeline. I built a file so thick it could have been a small book. I learned the language of insurance adjusters and how they try to lowball you with terms like actual cash value and depreciation. I learned to counter with replacement cost value and policy limits. I became an expert in my own claim, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. The emotional toll was brutal. There were nights I could not sleep, pacing the floor, wondering if I was doing the right thing, wondering if I was making things worse for my family. Sarah was my rock. She kept telling me to keep going, that we owed it to ourselves and to our kids to fight for what was rightfully ours. She took care of the children while I spent evenings on the phone or writing letters. She never once complained. Even when I came home frustrated and angry, she just hugged me and said, "You have got this." One of the hardest moments came when the insurance company offered a slightly higher settlement, but still far below what we needed. They said it was their final offer. Take it or leave it. They thought they had me cornered. They thought I was tired. They thought I would break. I almost did. But then I remembered the look on my daughter's face when she asked if she would ever sleep in her own bed again. I remembered my son's quiet tears when he realized his Lego collection was gone forever. I remembered the smell of smoke that still clung to our clothes, even weeks later. That is what gave me the strength to say no. I escalated the complaint to the ombudsman. I filled out their forms. I submitted my mountain of evidence. I told our story in clear, simple, honest terms. I did not rant. I did not yell. I just laid out the facts and let them speak for themselves. While I waited for their decision, I did something else. I started talking. I told friends, I told neighbors. I posted carefully worded updates on social media, not to shame the company, but to warn others. This is what can happen. This is what you need to know. This is how you protect yourself. Slowly, other people started reaching out, people who had been through similar ordeals, people who felt too ashamed or too defeated to speak up. They shared their stories. They shared their documents. They shared their advice. A community formed, not of victims, but of survivors. And that community gave me strength. I was not alone anymore. The ombudsman contacted me. I thought my heart would stop. They had reviewed our case, and they agreed with us completely. They found the insurance company had acted unfairly, had misrepresented the terms of the policy, and had failed in their duty to treat us with empathy and good faith. They ordered the company to reassess our claim using the correct valuation method and to cover all reasonable costs for temporary housing and replacement of belongings. They also ordered them to pay us compensation for the distress and inconvenience they had caused. I read the letter 3 times before I believed it was real. I showed it to Sarah. She burst into tears, happy tears for the first time in months. We hugged the kids, we called my parents, we even let Max the dog lick our faces in celebration. It was not just about the money. It was about justice. It was about being heard. It was about proving that even when you feel small and powerless, you can still stand up to a giant and win. But the insurance company did not roll over just yet. They appealed the ombudsman's decision. They dragged the process out for another 3 months, hoping I would get tired and settle. They were wrong. I was more determined than ever. I responded to every delay with more documentation, more evidence, more calm, persistent pressure. I reminded them the ombudsman had already ruled against them. I reminded them the public was watching. I reminded them that every day they delayed was another day my family suffered. Finally, they gave in. Not with an apology, not with kindness, but with a check. A check for the full amount we were owed, plus the compensation ordered by the ombudsman, plus reimbursement for all our temporary Housing costs, it was more money than I had ever seen in one place. And you know what the strangest part was? I did not feel joy. I felt relief, a deep heavy, bone-crushing relief, like a weight had been lifted off my chest that I did not even know I was carrying. We did not go on vacation with the money. We did not buy fancy cars. We did one thing. We rebuilt our home exactly as it was. Same layout, same paint colors, same garden shed out back. We even found the same model of sofa. We wanted everything to feel normal again for the kids. For us, it took almost a year, but walking through the front door for the first time felt like coming home after a very long, very dark journey. This story is not over though, because winning my battle was not enough. I realized there are thousands of people out there going through the exact same thing, feeling helpless, feeling bullied, feeling like the system is rigged against them, and maybe it is. But that does not mean you have to lose. I started a small blog. I share a story. I share templates of the letters I wrote. I share tips on how to read your policy, how to document everything, how to file a complaint with the ombudsman. I answer emails from strangers who are in the middle of their own nightmares. I tell them, you are not alone. You can do this. It is hard, but it is possible. If you are watching this because you are facing a disaster and an uncooperative insurance company, I want you to hear this loud and clear. You have rights. You have power. You do not have to accept their first offer or their second or their final offer. Read your policy. It is boring, I know, but it is your weapon. Know the difference between actual cash value and replacement cost value. Know your coverage limits. Know your deductibles. Document everything. I cannot say this enough. Keep a journal of every interaction. Date, time, name of the person you spoke, to summary of what was said. Save every email, every letter, every text. Take photos of everything before, during, and after the loss. If they say something on the phone, follow up with an email summarizing the conversation and ask them to confirm if you have it right. This creates a paper trail that they cannot ignore. Do not be afraid to escalate. If your adjuster is not helping, ask for their supervisor. If the supervisor is not helping, file a formal complaint with the company. If the company ignores, you go to the ombudsman. In the U.S., you can contact your state insurance commissioner. They are there to protect consumers just like you. Find your community. Talk to friends. Talk to family. Join online support groups. You will be amazed at how many people have been through this and are willing to help. You do not have to fight alone. And sometimes, just talking about it, sharing the burden, can give you the strength to keep going. Be calm but be firm. Do not yell. Do not threaten. Do not beg. Be polite, but persistent. Use facts, not emotions, even when your heart is breaking. Stick to the terms of your policy. Stick to the evidence. Stick to the law. They are counting on you to get emotional, to get frustrated, to give up. Do not give them that satisfaction. Know when to get professional help. If the claim is very large or very complex, or if you are just completely overwhelmed, consider hiring a public adjuster or a lawyer who specializes in insurance claims. Yes, it costs money, but sometimes it is worth it to have an expert in your corner, someone who knows the tricks, the loopholes, the pressure points. They can often get you a much better settlement than you could on your own. Most importantly, do not give up. I know it feels impossible. I know you are tired. I know you just want it to be over. But giving up means letting them win. It means letting them take what is rightfully yours. And you deserve better. You and your family deserve to be treated fairly. You deserve to rebuild your life without being nickel and dimed by a company that took your money for years and then turned their back when you needed them most. This fight changed me. I am not the same man I was before the fire. I am stronger. I am wiser. I am angrier at injustice, but also more hopeful because I have seen that ordinary people can beat the system if they are willing to stand up and fight. I am not a lawyer. I am not a financial expert. I am just a dad who refused to let his family be pushed around. If our story helps even one person avoid the pain we went through, then every sleepless night, every frustrating phone call, every tear was worth it. You can win, you really can. But you have to be ready to fight, and you have to know how. Start today. Read your policy. Find your documents. Write down everything that has happened so far. Do not wait. Do not hope they will suddenly become nice. They want hope is not a strategy. Action is print out the complaint forms for the ombudsman or your state commissioner. Bookmark them. Put them on your fridge. Tell your family what you are going to do. Say it out loud, I'm going to fight for what is mine. Because at the end of the day, this is not about insurance. This is about dignity. This is about respect. This is about refusing to be treated like a number on a spreadsheet. You are a human being. You have suffered a loss. You deserve compassion. You deserve fairness. You deserve to be made whole. And if they will not give it to you willingly, then you take it. You fight for it. You demand it. You win it. Just like I did. Just like so many others have done before you. You are not alone. And you are stronger than you think. Thank you for listening to our story. If it helped you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Leave a comment if you have questions. I will do my best to answer them. And if you are in the middle of your own battle right now, I am rooting for you. You've got this. I believe in you. Now go out there and win.